have Mr. Ed Vaughn here, and he just watched Nationtime Gary, and he's going to tell us what he thinks about it.
I thought the film was good in the sense that it chronicled Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, the ideologies that I fundamentally believe in. But I think the film was kind of, I hate to use the term whitewash, but I think it was in terms of the real implications of what was happening there. If we had followed what they wanted us to do, and we did follow it, because what came out of that convention was a black political party, an all-black political party, the Freedom Now Party. I believe that was the name of it. And I know as an elected official, I attended the last convention of the Freedom Now Party in New Orleans. And I had lost, that was my first term in the Michigan House of Representatives. And I had lost my re-election bid because they cheated me. My own Democratic Party had cheated me because I never got any support from the Michigan Democratic Party. They always put up a candidate against me, and I beat them every time. But the idea of an all-black third political party was not new at that time, because we did that. We had done that already in Michigan. We had an all-black political party, and I believe it was called the Freedom Now Party. Was our political party, and that was really done out of the Shrine of the Black Madonna. And the shrine wasn't named that at that time, but it was an all-black political party. And we here in Detroit, Reverend Albert B. Clegg, later known as Jaramogi Baby Ajiman, Attorney Milton Henry, designer, automotive designer, Richard Henry, also called Imari Obadeli. We created that first black political party that in America that got on a statewide state ballot. We scared the stew out of the Michigan Democratic Party, and but this idea of a third party just doesn't sit well in America, and I think we've shown that, because through the Democratic Party we have been able to make great strides in what we have done. We've done well with it, fairly well, I would say, because I was in it, but I never got the support of the Democratic Party. But the film is really about black nationalism and also about Pan-Africanism. All of that is very good. The problem is that the people who were there, none of them really supported the idea of a third black political party. Now let me tell you some of the things that are missing in the film that he did not discuss. Richard Nixon was president at the time. Richard Nixon sent tons of black Republicans to that convention. They were on a whole fleet of stretch black limousines from Washington. I think they must have flown them there on Air Force One, because they were there and they were really moving around. And of course, what they wanted was to see an all-black political party. But none of that was mentioned in the film. But they were there, and they were strong there and pushing, y'all go ahead and set up a third party, and we'll make sure that Democrats never win an election, because y'all are pretty tied to the Democrats. Of course, our mantra should have been that we are Democrats and we expect the Democratic Party to support us. But that did not happen. And when that was the walkout, what the film didn't show is that Illinois also walked out. The Illinois delegation, the Michigan delegation, then the Illinois delegation. But the Michigan delegation was taken over by myself and by a brother named Riley Smith. We were the heads of the Michigan Democratic Party delegation there. And we carried that on and came back to Detroit and had some meetings, and I attended practically every meeting of the National Black Political Party, the third party, all the way to New Orleans. And they put up a candidate for president. I think they put up Ron Dellums. They wanted Ron Dellums to run on the third party ticket. And he kept hemming and hawing and lying about he was going to run. And I told them, I bet you he backs out. And that is exactly what he did. He backed out. He did not run on the third party ticket. So that third party idea was pretty much doomed from the beginning. But at least we thought about it, we went through it, and I don't think any of these folks who may be still with us today would support the establishment of a third party, because you can't win like that. So the only way we can win is that there has to be a coalition of blacks and the Democratic Party in order to win. So that was always a problem. But when Coleman Young ran for mayor in 1973, that was after the Gary Convention, after he had walked out. And Coleman was always, I was always questionable to him because I was always a staunch independent. And so I helped him in the 73 campaign. But he didn't pay me and some of my folks much attention. And so a friend of mine named Hank Reed called Coleman and told him, said, you better talk to Ed Vaughn, because you know you walked out of that convention at Gary. And the people in Detroit did not like that. And that you better talk to him because he took over the Michigan delegation. And you better try to see if you can get his support in 73 for your run as mayor of Detroit. And Coleman did call me, and I agreed that I would support him. Well, I mean, what else was I going to do? That was a white guy running against me. I think it was Mel Ravis or somebody running against him. And I said, how in the hell I'm going to support them when we got a black man running for mayor? And he may have some flaws, but he ain't no white one. So I supported Coleman in this election, and he won. And of course, as a result of that, and as a result of a great friend of mine named Ronald Hewitt, who was in the Shrine of the Black Madonna, Ron Hewitt asked Mayor Young to hire me. Now, the Shrine of the Black Madonna was my idea, and I raised all of the money to hire Glanton Dowd, because we had no money at Central United Church of Christ, which was a forerunner of the Shrine of the Black Madonna. But after I raised the money, and I say I, because I did it, after I raised the money, paid for the framing, and paid the artists, we became a national attraction. When the Black Madonna was unveiled, people from all over the world came to Detroit, from every nation in the world, I believe, to film that 18-foot tall painting of the Black Madonna and her child. So all of this was a part of that. And of course, the Black Slate was established here, and other slates were established here. And half the time they supported me, half of the time they didn't, but I always ran as an independent, and I'm very proud of what I was able to do. But I was at Gary, and for example, one of the things that wasn't reported was Jesse Jackson's speech. I guess that was his first speech. Jesse Jackson got up and started talking yang stuff that was not very agreeable to the people who were there. And my friend Riley Smith touched me. We were sitting in the bleachers there at Gary. Riley said, Ed, what they gonna do now? They're booing Jesse, booing him. They're gonna boo him off the stage. I said, no. I know Jesse too well. You watch what's gonna happen. He's gonna put that prepared speech in his back pocket, and he's gonna do his stump speech. And I said, and when I saw it on the film, he was doing his stump speech. That was not the speech that he gave in the beginning. So that was one of the interesting things about it. But I think it was overall, it's a good film in the sense of uplifting black folks. I think Mr. Greaves did a good job in doing that. But he didn't really report much of the dissension and disruption that was there, because the meeting after Gary was, I believe it was at Howard University in Washington, D.C., but I was there. And I remember that Mayor Hatchett was there, Congressman Charles Diggs, who I loved. I thought Congressman Diggs was always a strong brother in the struggle. And I think John Conyers may have been there, but it was, I said to myself, not many people came to that second meeting at Howard University. And I said, well, I don't think we're going to do very well. But some of the black nationalist brothers who really were pushing for a third party, like Ron Daniels out of Youngstown, Ohio, who now lives in New York, he was one of those pushing hard for the National Black Political Party, and it was organized, and there was 2 or 3 conventions, and as I said, Ron Dellums was supposed to be our candidate for president, but I told him, look, I said, he's not going to run, he's not going to defy the Democratic Party, and he didn't. He did exactly what I said he was going to do, not run. So we really didn't have a good candidate to run, and I forgot, we put up some candidates, but they were not very much, and we didn't get any votes. We didn't even do as well as the Michigan Freedom Now Party, which was the all-black political party that we organized here in Detroit, Reverend Clegg, and Attorney Milton Henry, and several others, Lloyd Cohen. I mean, we ran for every office in the state of Michigan. But that too was pretty much doomed to failure. So we have to be very careful about what we do. But really, in conclusion, the film was a good, real good, feel-good film. And it was about the right thing, Pan-Africanism and black nationalism in America. It was that good. And that was a time when nobody was afraid. You know, when Coretta Scott King would come there and say she would, I'm pretty much agreeing to black nationalism. Sidney Poitier was okay, and Harry Belafonte was okay, because Belafonte especially was very active in the civil rights movement, which I was also active in the civil rights movement. But my point on the film is that Mr. Greaves did a good job of a film that make you feel good about being black and about our direction and about the history of and the struggles we have been through. I thought he did a great job doing that. But those of us who are really serious about continuing the struggle and black economic, social, and political power, those of us who really believe in that, and I still do, we've got to be very understanding of how and how the things we must do. We must have a strong agenda. We must have dedicated people, and we must get our people ready to vote and to vote in the Democratic Party. No third party stuff, because that's what 45 and his crew want us to do, is to vote in a third party. They put up a third party candidate this last time, an independent, so-called independent third party candidate. And many of our people voted for them. And then so many of our people don't even vote. And if we don't mobilize them and get them out to vote, and I know many ways that we can get that done. And we just got to move forward. I'm chairman of my county Democratic Party in Alabama. I brought on a young white millennial to be my vice chairman. He's working real hard with young white people in Alabama. And I believe we can turn our state, which is bloody red, I think we can turn it to bold blue. And I think we're going to do that. And of course, I was the NAACP state president for the state of Alabama, and I went to every county practically in Alabama, not all of them, but just about every county. I had American Indian Affairs Committee. I worked strenuously on helping black Indians in the state of Alabama. So I'm saying the film made me feel very good, but since I was there and I took over the Michigan delegation, it just didn't tell the whole story. But I say it was feel good, but some of those problems that we had there at the convention, the walkout, the black Republicans from Washington, D.C., there for Richard Nixon. The fact that we did not see that in the film, I think, is something that ought to be talked about. Perhaps when the film is showed again, maybe some comments can be made about some of the problems. I mean, among our people. But if it's on television, I'll let it just stay as it is. But among us, we need to talk about the trials and tribulations at Gary, what happened at Gary, what failed because of Gary, because we didn't follow through. I think all of that need to be discussed inside of the black family. And I believe we can discuss that and move forward at a better pace for our future. So firmly committed to that. And so if you need me, call me. And let me just say this. We have a program in Alabama and Georgia that's called Souls to the Polls. And Souls to the Polls said 9 plus me equals 10 souls to the polls. So that me is the person who's in charge of getting his vote to the poll, his or her vote to the poll, and getting 9 other voters to the polls in 2020 on election day. We got to be fired up and ready to go, because if we are not, they're gonna get us. Now, Trump could very well win again if we fool around. And I know what Russia has done. I know what they say China has done. But I'm gonna tell you now, because I discovered it in my research, that Hillary Clinton lost that election because she did not mobilize the black vote. She didn't put no money in the battleground states, which is the only way you're gonna win the Electoral College, is in the battleground states. She didn't put no money in. She decided not to campaign in Michigan. She decided not to campaign in Wisconsin. How dumb can you be? These are battleground states. These are the states where you can win or lose the Electoral College vote. And Trump won by about 7%. The black vote could have overturned him. For example, in the city of Cleveland, Ohio, there's an all-black suburb of Cleveland called East Cleveland, Ohio. I've been there. I got the key to the city. When I was a state representative working on behalf of reparations, in there they vote 100%. For Hillary, they voted 40%, which was really about 7%, which really was about 7% of the black vote throughout the battleground states. It was very low. Normally it was 40%, and it turned out to be like 7% of the vote. But the 40% would have put us over. And Hillary didn't put no money in, and she didn't get nothing out of it because black folks didn't vote for her. And it wasn't Russia or China. It was the fact that she didn't mobilize the loyal black Democratic vote. And I'm a black Democrat, and I want to make sure that in 2020 we dump 45, get ourselves together, and then rebuild what this present president has torn down. We can do it. And we have something in the Pan-African movement called Aluta Continua, which is Kiswahili, but the struggle continues. Our struggle indeed continues. Let us pull together, register our people to vote, and get the vote out. We can win and then organize, 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 organize. And that's what Frederick Douglass said after he had helped recruit black soldiers in the Civil War. After he had fought against slavery, after he had done all of this, after the blacks were freed from slavery, after he was ambassador to 2 or 3 countries, they asked Frederick Douglass, well, what do we do now, Mr. Douglass, after all of this, after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States? The 13th Amendment freed us from slavery. The 14th Amendment made us a citizen, and the 15th Amendment gave us the right to vote. They asked Mr. Douglass, what do we do now? And he said, organize, organize, organize. And that's what I say. Thank you, and God bless all of you. I love you. The struggle continues.